All right, this is the midterm review, page 4. Okay, so there's just one problem on page 4, but it has 4 parts. So it tells us that a study conducted by KHDA found that 65% of high school students had smoked cigarettes. If 12 high school students are randomly selected, find the following probabilities. All right, so this problem, they've given us a probability, okay, and the event that we're looking at, there are only 2 possible outcomes. Yeah, you either smoke or you don't. Okay, and we selected a certain number of people. So this is a binomial problem. Students oftentimes have trouble realizing what type of problem this is. Okay, so our probability of success, remember that success in a binomial problem, it doesn't have any feeling of good, okay? It's just whatever we're looking at. So we're looking at smoking here. So the probability of success for this problem is 65% or 0.65. And we chose 12 students, so our n is 12. Okay? So the first question, we want the probability that fewer than 5 have smoked cigarettes. Okay? So fewer than 5, this is another difficulty with this type of problem. Fewer than 5, it really means at most 4, doesn't it? At most 4. Which means we could have 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, because if we just want to know the probability that at most 4 of these 12 students has smoked, well, it could be included in this idea of at most 4 is 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, so since we are not allowed to use megastat anymore, at least for right now, this problem is rather tedious. Okay, we've got to use the formula, and we have to use it multiple times. Okay, so the formula is on your formula sheet. Let's look at the formula sheet so that you know that this is actually true and that I'm not lying. Okay, here's the formula for the binomial probability distribution. Okay, and we talked about it in class. Let's write it here. Okay, so the formula tells us that the probability of a certain number is a combination, so NCX, and we'll talk about how to find that on your calculator, times the probability of success to the x power, and then we take that times the quantity, 1 minus the probability of success, to the n minus x power. Okay? So what we have to do for this problem, or means plus, doesn't it? So we have to find the probability of 0, probability of 1, probability of 2, probability of 3, probability of 4. And then we've got to sum those. Okay? So do the probability of 0, probability of 0. Okay? So 0 is our x. We have our n written up here and our pi. So it's just a matter of slotting the values into the formula, you know, and being careful, not making a mistake. So 12C, why do you do this to me? 12C0, okay, times 0.65 to the power of x, and our x is 0, times the quantity 1 minus 0.65. And we'll take that to the power of n minus x. And you know, you can do that on your calculator. You know, I strongly advise you not to use mental math in my class because that is not foolproof. So you can just do it on your calculator using parentheses. So n is 12, x is 0. Well, you know, if you can't do that in your head, that's That's kind of unacceptable. Anyhow, okay, so what you're going to do when you enter it into the calculator. All right, now I don't have a camera to show my hand punching the buttons on my calculator. But as I told you numerous times in class, the combination is found through shift divide. Okay? So what you're going to do this on your calculator, you're going to punch in 12, then shift divide, okay, and then the C is going to come up. Okay? And then you'll punch in the 0. Then it's just times 0.65, the caret, yeah, which is the little upside down V to the power of, and I think you know how to do the rest of these. The only thing to be careful about is using parentheses. Okay, if you don't use parentheses many times, the calculator will not actually do what you want it to do because of order of operations. Okay, so what you're going to get for your answer for this, it's going to be in scientific notation, and as I told you, you've got to be able to put that into regular notation. So it's going to be 0 point, and then there are going to be 5 zeros. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3, 4. Let me double check to make sure that's right. Yep. So what this is on your calculator, I'll write it up here. Your calculator is going to give you 3.4 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So as we've talked about in class, all you need to do to change it into a normal number is whatever number is up here, okay, the decimal point is here, yeah? You're going to move this decimal point this many bumps to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we filled in the holes with zeros. All right, so you have to be able to do that because we're going to add all this up at the end, and if you don't have the answers in the regular format, you won't be able to add them. So going on to find probability of 1, our combination is going to change to 12C1 times 0.65 to the power of 1 times the quantity 1 minus 0.65 to the power of quantity 12 minus 1. Okay? So again, it's just a matter of punching it into your calculator. 12 shift divide will give you the C, 1, and then you multiply it all out. And again, this is going to be in scientific notation. Okay? The answer in normal format, it's going to have 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 7, 5. Okay? So on your calculator, this would be 7.5 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? But you've got to put it into the regular format. Now, we've got to find the probability of 2. Okay, so our combination changes to 12C2 times 0.65 power of 2 times the quantity 1 minus 0.65 to the power of 12 minus 2. Okay, and you should get 0.00077. And actually, I think this comes as scientific notation on your calculator as well. This will be 7.7 times 10 to the negative 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we've just got to go on finding these probabilities. Probability of 3 is going to be 12C3 times 0.65 to the third power times 1 minus 0.65 to the power of 12 minus 3. Okay? And that is going to give us an answer of 0.0048. Okay, Okay, we still have to find one more probability before we can sum. We've got to find the probability of 4. So that's going to be 12C4 times 0.65 to the 4th power times quantity 1 minus 0.65 to the power of 12 minus 4. Okay, and when we punch that all into our calculator, it's going to give us 0.0199. Okay, so then we've got to sum these. Okay, and if you sum these, and you got to be careful about entering the correct number of zeros. You know, it's very easy to make a mistake with this. The sum of those is going to be 0.0255. Okay, so, you know, let's imagine that I told you to round it to 3 decimal places. Rounded to 3 decimal places, that would be 0.026. All right? So, as I said, it's a very tedious process. Okay? You just have to be careful and slot the numbers into the formula. So, question B, it's still binomial, okay, and we want the probability that at least 7 have smoked cigarettes, okay. So I'm actually not going to work out this whole problem. I'm just going to set it up for you, okay, but you should work it out because you have to be able to do this on the test. So the probability at least 7, what that means is we want the probability of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12. Okay, so similar to what we did for question A, we're going to find those probabilities and then we're going to add them. Okay? So, you know, we here the x's change, of course. You know, actually I'll write it out so nobody screams that I didn't help enough. You know, you're just going to have to do the formula 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times. You're going to have to find the probability of 7, probability of 8, probability of 9, probability of 10, didn't leave enough space, probability of 11, and probability of 12. Okay? And then, after you've found those using the formula, you're going to sum all of them. Okay, and I will tell you that you should get a sum of 0.7873. So again, if I tell you to take it to 3 decimal places, your final answer will be 0.78. Oh, that is strange. 787. Okay? And question C, probability that at most 3. Now this is, I'm just going to set it up for you. So at most 3, that means that we could have 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, so hopefully if you've been following along, you realize how you're going to do this. You're going to find the probability of 0, the probability of 1, the probability of 2, the probability of 3, and you're going to sum those. Okay, and you should get a sum of 0.00564. All right. So, you know, it's just a matter of using that formula. And yes, it's time consuming. Yes, it's tedious. You've got to be very careful because it's so easy to make mistakes when doing this stuff manually. Okay, but we have been told that we can't use Megastat, so we got to do it that way. Question D, I actually want you to skip it because that is like majorly tedious. Okay, more than 4, that means at least 5. Okay, so what that means is we would have to find the probability, oops, going crazy with the scrolling. That means we'd have to find the probability of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 and then add all of them. And that's just really tedious, and I won't give you such a big problem like that on the test. Okay, so that's page 4 of the review, and it's just basically working one binomial problem with mini